I'm very grateful to my honourary friend, the member for Woking, for securing this important debate, and he's made a very powerful speech on behalf of his vulnerable constituents as well as vulnerable people across the county of Surrey and beyond. The central failing I want to highlight today is this. Surrey County Council, my constituency's local authority for children's services, repeatedly choosing not to use its statutory powers even when children are unsafe, out of education or legally entitled to support, and children and families across Guildford are feeling the consequences. Schools are often the first to spot safeguarding concerns. Head teachers and designated safeguarding leads do not raise alarms lightly. They do so because they are often the only professionals with consistent daily insight into a child's well-being. At a meeting last year, a head teacher told us that safeguarding thresholds in Surrey are far higher than comparable authorities. Referrals stalled and the council is reluctant to move from voluntary support to formal safeguarding processes. And this is often justified by the family resilience model. And of course, there's nothing wrong with a strengths-based approach, but the issue is how it is applied. One head teacher at this same meeting described with visible emotion a child in her school who was showing clear signs of neglect and abuse. The head teacher followed safeguarding procedures and referred the case to Surrey. And instead of investigating, the council informed the parents that a safeguarding concern had been raised, and the parents removed the child from school. That head teacher told us she lies awake at night, not knowing where that child is or whether they are safe. And this is not an isolated incident. And of course, my honourable friend has referred to the tragic case of Sarah Sharif, and that is absolutely the most tragic example in Surrey. And these safeguarding failures are deeply linked to failures in education. Just one example from my constituents, we have a looked after child approaching a critical educational transition, but approval for an appropriate placement was delayed because that child is in temporary accommodation outside Surrey due to a shortage of placements. Despite Surrey being the corporate parent, geography is treated as a barrier rather than the system adapting. And there are so many other examples I could share. I have several questions that I wish to ask the Minister, but given time, I will write to him to ask them, and simply want to ask today whether he will commit to reviewing whether Surrey is meeting its statutory safeguarding educational duties, particularly in relation to thresholds for intervention. Children in Surrey need a system that acts without hesitation when their safety, welfare or education is at risk. And I urge the Government to do all it can to ensure Surrey County Council meets its legal responsibilities, and I fully support my colleague, the Honourable Member for Woking, and his call for the Government to intervene in Surrey in order to keep children safe.
Yeah.